and be able to discuss it as a council and take a vote.
Our goal will not be to make you wait 2 more months. That would not be kind.
It'd be expensive.
Okay. We'll keep that.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I make a motion, we table it to the next special call meeting.
To the next
To the next
meeting,
meeting.
whenever that meeting may be. Okay. Have a motion.
I'll second.
Is that an appropriate motion, Mr. Hall? Yes, sir. Have a motion and a second. Do we have further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it does carry unanimously. Folks, I apologize, it's just the transition that's going on. Times are tough, and so we'll get this corrected, we'll get this back, and at the very next meeting that the town council has, we'll complete this process for you. Ms. Thompson, I would say there's going to be, no matter the meetings, I think we're going to have to observe the same protocol for putting the meeting out, the timeline. The notice. We will have to observe that, so that if you make a note of that, that's something we'll have to remember prior to the next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 11, public hearing, action, reference the fiscal year 24-25 budget. So we will enter a time of public hearing. These are for anyone who has comment specific to the budget. Right now I have none, so if anyone would like to fill out one specific to the budget, you'll be able to take your 3 minutes to give us your name, your address, and speak to the topic at hand. Is there anyone who would like to take opportunity to speak to the budget fiscal year 24-25?
Oh, I got it. I got it. Don Woodell, 3406 Windswept Drive. Since the budget doesn't have to be technically, or till the end, July 1st, being in the state. And I know that with Dana coming in, I think if you give her a little time, she may be able to give some suggestions if she has some. Give her an opportunity to review it, and before you actually approve the budget. That's really all I have to say. Thank you. I'm going to go with
Thank you. Ms. Dunham.
Budget, again, I strongly recommend that this be
Ms. Dunham,
done.
can you please give us your name
Gail
and
Dunn,
address?
5805 Stonehenge Drive. Again, I would strongly recommend that this be done with a professional manager, who's also a CPA, and take a look at a few things. This $10 million budget, you're starting all these projects. There isn't one thing in this budget that you know what it's going to cost to build or what it's going to cost to maintain. And I have a problem with that. You know, I agree about the trails. Everyone wanted trails. When we had the Dr. Suller survey, it was everyone wanted trails. But at that time, the Park and Rec Committee decided they wanted the priority was the amphitheater. So trails have gotten put up. But you've already, probably spent $1 million in engineering, and none of that is going to be, you don't get a return on that. This isn't federal money. You're not printing money like the feds. And I think the way this is escalating, this is not just another $150,000 tonight. Also, there's some things, I've looked at the contract, there's things in that contract that were already done with the other contracts, with the other contractors, with the originals with Stewart. And Stewart also did a great deal of research about one or two paths that were more rural and probably more compatible to what an A and a Y trail what people wanted to be. The goal was always to link up to a mountain to sea trail, to link up to something significant. This is just such an expensive project, you have no idea what it's going to cost. I think that you need to take a look at what the town it's done for the last 11 years, which you paid for. Take a look at a couple of those, a couple of the other routes. And within a year or two, you might know that if we're going to have a lake to Sturgedale or to Oak Ridge. There's those conversations going on. The other thing, we have no idea what this is going to cost. We have, if you look at the Greenway in Greensboro, that was, I think, 4 miles and about 30 million. But there's a lot more to it. It was a different type of trail. But this isn't $1 million a mile. This is going to be extremely expensive. Supposedly the town only has to pay 20%. Do you have an extra $5 million? There's something else that's really important. You've got 3 projects here. You've got water. You're going to build a water tower. You're already designing your water tower, which people really don't want. The fire department doesn't want. You've got this, which should be done right. It should be done right. And you've got Bandera. The town has signed contracts, and you've received a tremendous amount of grant money from organizations and from the state for Bandera. And now you've said, well, we just don't have money for Bandera. You know, someone's going to have to, we just have to find a gas station someplace. Well, maybe it's here. You've got a great deal of federal money you spent wisely. The other thing, I've heard conversations going back and forth about Bandera, and it appears you were looking for a lower cost provider. That might not be the best thing to do. The first contractor, you seem to think that would be the best person. But Bandera should be on here. You can find out what it's going to cost to complete Bandera. And the reason the price went up, okay, you received all the federal money, the town did nothing for 3 years. And yes, the price went up. But you still have a contract for Bandera for an equestrian park. You've all, maybe not everyone here, but the town has definitely signed for this. Been very thankful to all these donors, and maybe that has to be a priority if it's ready to go. And then the third thing, you want to do the water tower, and you say, well, we're getting $6 million from the county. Well, you're taking to build a water tower for $2 million that people don't want, and you're going to use a $2 million property, and you have no idea what it's going to cost to take fire hydrants up 150, and you've got this idea. And take a look at your, just try some new cash management.
Your time
Take a
is
look at your
up,
monthly
Ms.
packet.
Any other comments on public hearing for the budget? Seeing none and hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and put this item out amongst the council for further discussion.
I do know that Ms. Luther has, I think she's corresponded with us some about the budget. Has anybody had a chance to look at those? Because I haven't had a chance to review them.
I've highlighted all of her comments, and there are some changes on there. There's some ups, and then there's several that should be lowered.
Does this need to be, this needs to be completed this month, right?
It has to be completed by July 1. I was going to recommend that we have maybe a special call meeting on the 27th that's a Thursday of June. So we would have more time to ask questions about these particulars, and then we would still make the date. That was my feeling.
We're looking at the straight road to that too, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, that'd be good. I'll check mine.
I know we'll be out of the country, but if we're down one person, it's okay, I think, but I leave on the 26th.
You'll be here, Lynn, you said you were going to be gone at some point too, but you will be back in plenty of time for that.
I'll be back in plenty of time for that. We could also do it on the Tuesday, the 25th.
I could do that.
Are y'all available on Tuesday, the 25th?
Your wife is here, isn't she, your calendar?
I'm here. I'm here on the 25th.
Another option is we could approve, and if need be, have budget amendments.
I might, I'd like to have her review it good before we do anything, as well as, we have to come back for straight road anyway. That's a big one.
Yeah.
So I'm good with the 25th or the 27th, either one.
What do you think, Tim?
So, can I make a motion?
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion that we come back for a special call meeting on the 25th. And we, on that date is when we will take the vote on the budget.
John, said he could be here on the 25th?
Yes.
So that's 4 yeses, 1 we
What
don't.
time are you thinking?
I'm not there,
We could do it in the evening. Do y'all want to do 6 o'clock or 6:30?
Mr. Hoffman, does that work with you too?
I don't know, but I'll make sure I do
Okay.
it. Yeah, 26.
The 25th
Okay. And
at
20
6:30.
The 25th at 6:30.
6:30
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
here at the community center.
Or is that it here for a second? You
Oh,
can't.
well, sorry. No, that was a here.
I know what you were saying.
Do we know?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Did you say second?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Have a motion and a second. Now, any further discussion?
Discussion, I'm not sure that we have.
We would have to check availability, so
To check the venue.
I would be willing to amend the motion to first choice is here, second choice is town hall.
can we amend it to, do we need to amend it to include the straight road vote as well, or?
No. We'll put together an agenda
Right.
that we'll approve at the beginning of the meeting.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And it is unanimous. We'll have a special call meeting on Tuesday, June the 25th, here or at Town Hall, whichever one is available at 6:30.
So, Ms.
So
Fair,
this, I'm sorry, what that-
Ms. Fairley, if I can help you get that notice for the 48-hour requirement.
For the special.
so that,
The special call meeting this evening.
so that takes care of item number 11. Item number 12, business from the mayor and council, which brings us down to item 12A, A&Y Greenway South, Kimley Horn Contract Amendment number 2, presentation by Councilmember Robinson with representatives from the TOS Committee, MPO, NCDOT, and Kimberly Horn on hand to address questions and concerns. I do know that Kimberly Horn is not here tonight, to my knowledge. Is that still correct?
Correct.
Having said that, I do know that Mr. Craig McKinney, I saw him come in. Is he still here? Hey, Craig. And also from the NCDOT, Mr. Stephen Robinson, also here. So thank you, gentlemen, for being here. We'll have to hear from you at some point. But right now, we'll turn it over to Councilmember Robinson.
Okay. Please, will you bring me those folders? So, I didn't plan a PowerPoint presentation since we don't have access to the computers and no projector, so it was just easier. What? Awesome, you can hand them out. So, I ended up having to make copies of stuff and put these folders together today. The last 2 hours to get through everything. I'm going to go through them in order, so if you flip through them, that's okay, but if you keep them in order, because that will make life easier for me as I go through my packet. I do have some extras. Is there an extra? Okay, so let's give one to these guys in the back. Can I take yours? Okay. I can...
Keep it safe.
Well, do you want to look at one while I look at it? Any other Trails Open Space members here? You two? Okay, good, let's do that. And then we might need 1 or 2 of those back for the project. Or I can make more copies actually. Okay. Here we go. So, I'm going to be talking to you about why we should not take the AOI trail down Summerfield Road. I don't think it's fair to the people living there. Who am I talking to? I'm talking to you guys.
Yeah.
You're my audience. I don't think it's fair to the people living there. It's not feasible and it's not safe. So we're going to go through this and I'm going to show you some maps. So the first thing you have is a big map. And this is one of the versions of the trail. It's come through many versions. Actually, I think if you look at the very, anyway, this is just one version. There's been, I think, at least 3 different versions of the map. This is one of them. Does everyone know where you are on this map? Like, you're oriented, you know where you are? Do you know where you are? Okay. Far more than 3, okay. And then the next map is, mine is bigger, but yours looks like this, right? Okay, so if you look at this map, do you see in the bottom right there's a loop, a green loop with a blue dotted line? So back in, this started in 2011, so 13 years ago, and in 2012 we had a feasibility study done. And it's a 170-page document. I have my copy here and the town hall copy here if anyone's interested in reading that. So this was a result of the feasibility study. And this is what they were recommending. Now I will tell you there were 3 sections to the A&Y expansion. Ours was 1. Then in the middle of the map was 2, and kind of to the top left was 3. Part 2 and Part 3 have said they don't want it.
Who are they?
Stokesdale. So the only thing left is us. It's not going to continue on from us. We are the end of it. And just so you know, the other end of it, if you, down Battleground where Target is, Target and the Party Supply Store, right there behind that building is the end of it. So what they recommended is this loop of green through this back area, and actually, what the next map, look at the next map in your packet, is up close of us in that loop.
Ms. Ross, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I don't think a couple of those comments are correct.
Okay.
Would you like for us to
Ask questions.
listen and make notes and ask you at the end?
No,
Or
let's-
stop you as you go through?
Let's talk as we go through.
Okay, well, I have an opinion, but we have Mr. McKinney here, so I'd like to call on him to speak to that, about it ending at Target, and also that it's going to end here, and it's not going to finish its mission across the state.
All right. Currently, we are in design to finish the piece in Bridgeport. It's under design now. So yes, it currently, from this end, it does stop. Also, it doesn't stop for then because we had to shut down the bridge because we had a pandemic. That's in design too. So the bridge construction, was looking for it to start in 25. The design for the rest of it, we just got the congressional earmark to cover the majority of the construction. So the construction of the part remaining in Greensboro, around 26, we might guess at this time. So, yes, it's right now it's a little fragmented, but the idea is to have it completed and then bring it up Summerfield Road here. And so it's,
Okay.
we have things completed down there by the time you're constructing here in Summerfield.
So right now it stops behind Target, but you're saying there's plans for it to go further in that direction?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Anything else, sir?
No.
Okay. So this is up close of the original plan that the feasibility study recommended. And it comes out of the tunnel, and it goes across all this land over to Pleasant Ridge Road, and then down Pleasant Ridge into the community park. That is nothing of what we are looking at doing anymore, and that's what they recommended. Now, the blue dotted line on the big map is Summerfield Road, and they had recommended a 6-foot wide sidewalk because 10 feet didn't fit. Okay, so that's what this map is showing you. On this map, this bottom portion is us, The rest of this isn't happening, it's already stopping with us, that is no more. All right, so the next piece of paper in your folder is an agenda from back in 2014. The documents some of these people in town keep are amazing, but a citizen had this. If you look at A, citizen feedback action number 1 was begin easement discussions prior to design. So they were supposed to go back and talk to the citizens, easement discussions with citizens. So I think every time this map was changed, which as we said, over and over and over, it should have gone back and they should have talked to the people who live there and talked about the easements. And each time it changed, they didn't go talk to the citizens and see how they feel about trail coming to their house. Comments? All right.
Well, can we ask the committee, did anybody begin easement discussions prior to this realignment?
Again, those were minutes from 2014 we wrote, but the process was incorrect. We had the process wrong. Easements happened. We put that in your, under each one of you. The process is written out and given to you tonight, how it actually works, and that's what needs to be given to you. So we were doing the best we could as a committee, but that was incorrect.
So you think going forward now, you would design prior to talking to people about easements?
So the DOT, until you have a design, you have, who you talk to them first. How do you know who you're talking to? So the way the process works is the easement discussions happen after there's a design.
Okay, so the ask now is that we spend another $150,000 just to get to the step to go knock on the doors and talk to the citizens who live there.
Janelle, you know that's not true. They were all voting, and you told me this. You told me this at our meeting in town hall on that Monday with Scott and he. Everybody was mailed a letter to come to that October meeting, and that where the route was scheduled to go. They were all mailed a letter, come to the discussion.
I have a copy of that letter in here and we'll talk about it.
And 9 out of 10 didn't show up.
Okay.
It was a listening meeting, it wasn't.
All right, the next document you have in here says executive summary at the top. There are 2 documents that we have contracts with the DOT. Here's one of them. Is that the next one?
This was the next one I had.
Oh, we already talked about that. We already talked about this one.
Yes,
So that's the next one. All right. So this is, if you look at TIP, that's how they reference it, R2309AB. This is a document that says that we're committing to continue the A&Y. For the tunnel to be built, we were agreeing to continue the A&Y. And if we didn't, we had to pay back 20% of the tunnel cost. So if we stop right now, and the A&Y ends where it is now, it comes out of the tunnel, comes up the sidewalk, and ends at that parking lot. If we ended there, we have to pay a 20% fee. It was estimated, if you look on page 3, it was estimated, it's in the bottom of A, $52,298. So if we stop, that's what we pay. But there was an estimation, and we have since got an actual number. If you want to write that on your paper or not, I recommend you write it down. $37,083.40. So if we stop it where it is now, that's what we pay, and we're done. Does anyone have any questions or comments about that document?
So you're saying there would be no more obligation under the contract or anything we've done so far
No.
to continue on, 37,000?
If we stop right now and let it end at the parking lot where it ends right now, we pay $37.
And where did the information come from?
DOT who's back there with us.
Thank you.
Okay. The next executive summary is the second document that we have an agreement with. This is the 80-20 agreement. I just wanted you to have that. I don't have anything that I need to say about it.
Wait, hold on. Are you talking about the amount that we have to?
Yeah, the 80-20, and I will say that I did talk, I mean, I don't want to give you I'll be honest, I did talk to them about this 80%, and I said, how do we know it's not going to be like Bandera, where it's going to be double the cost that we think it's going to be? And they said they really believe there is lots of funding out there for something like this. So I do believe we would still be at the 20%, but I'm getting some crazy looks. You don't agree, MPO?
There will be additional funding from a federal or NPO perspective. The town will still be responsible for anything for a 20% local
Right.
match. So like, say if it increased by $1 million, the town would still be responsible for 200,000, but the MPO will likely be able to provide the other funds for the federal match.
So my concern was that 4 million, right there, if we went over 4 million, let's say it was 8 million, does that mean we have to pay the other 4 million? And the idea was, I think, no, there probably could be more money, more funding, we would still just have to do the 20%. So,
But we don't know yet what the full amount will be, 20% of some unknown number. Is that right? Paul?
correct.
Yeah, and so in that piece of paper, what Greg clarified yesterday, and Steve is going to correct me on, is if Kimley Warren does the extra 147,000, we will have a valid design that's a mile and a half shorter. And with that valid design, we will switch from that 2017 estimated cost that's in that document that Al just referenced to a cost estimate done from today's current cost. Then you will have a number. That's the only way you're going to get a current number, just like happened with Van Buren, is know, do we want to go forward or not? That's what we're going to a good number.
You know, we heard you for 45 minutes in prior
Okay.
meeting. I'd really like to hear,
The next, yeah, let me.
I'd really like to hear this.
The next paper, is it a letter or this? Okay, the multi-use pathways, I gave you a highlighter. If you would follow along and highlight some things for me that I think are like some of the most important things that we're going to talk about tonight for the AMR. On the first page, this is from the DOT website. I was wondering all along, why does it have to be a multi-use path? And it's in the 80-20 agreement, it has to be a multi-use path. So this is where we get our information from DOT about what is a multi-use pathway. So if you look, when to consider this type of activity, the second sentence, or you can read it all, but the second sentence is what I think is super important on this page. To be safe and enjoyable, multi-use pathways must be designed according to well-established design standards. These design standards include adequate width for two-directional use by both cyclists and pedestrians, provisions of good sight distance, avoidance of steep hill grades, tight curves that force bicyclists to make awkward movements. And this part. And minimal crossflow by motor vehicles. So, all the way down Summerfield Road, it's one driveway after another or one business after another. All the way down it. No other part of the greenway does that happen. The rest of the entire greenway, you cross Pisgah Church, and there's a CVS there. And I think that is the only place, all the way to Greensboro, that you cross a road. Okay, where else? Tell me. Owl's Roost, okay. It's a road. You're right. Okay, yes. But there are no driveways with houses all along it like this, where it's one driveway after another.
Owl's Roost is a dead end. That helps.
Owl's Roost crosses over that neighborhood and keeps going.
The dead ends to the greenway.
So, okay,
Across the industrial.
Summerfield Road, nowhere else on the greenway do you cross all these
When you
driveways
go
and houses.
downtown, you're gonna cross all these businesses when it goes downtown. It's gonna go downtown.
When it goes downtown. Right now, the greenway is nowhere like Summerfield Road. There is no part of the greenway like Summerfield
But it
Road.
will be.
Maybe there will be someday. We don't know where it's gonna go or if it's gonna happen,
Yes,
just
it's already
whatever.
planned. It's already done.
Okay. So this says at minimum, come on.
No, folks, let's not, please.
Yeah, would you bring it to order?
All right, next page.
That's what I'm doing.
Thank you.
For transportation purposes, top line, a multi-use pathway should have a well-defined origin and destination. I'll stop right there and tell you, I understand they say it's gonna continue in Greensboro. Right now, it ends with a piece of sidewalk that ends. There is no end. And there are, it's not 10 feet wide like I'm gonna read to you it's supposed to be. It's just a sidewalk with fire hydrants in the middle of the sidewalk.
So is the trail along Summerfield Road supposed to be a multi-use
Yes.
pathway?
The greenway is supposed to be a multi-use pathway, and in Greensboro, it is not, it's a sidewalk.
Do you mind if I ask Paul a question? Sorry, what's your last name again? I apologize.
Lambert.
Lambert.
Yes, sir.
Do you mind if I ask you, the proposed path along Summerfield Road, does that need to be a multi-use pathway?
Yeah, 10 feet wide.
And Mr. McKay is saying that it does need to be a multi-use pathway. Okay, thank you.
So it says it should have a well-defined origin and destination. If we stop it where it is now in Summerfield, it has a well-defined destination, it's a parking lot, it's a place for people to park and get on the greenway. Multi-use pathways should not be located immediately adjacent to a roadway because of safety considerations at intersections with driveways and roads. The bicyclists and motorists each believes that he or she has the right of way, and the result can be a bicycle motor vehicle collision. Studies have shown that such parallel multi-use pathways are approximately twice as dangerous for bicyclists as riding in traffic with motor vehicles. So by putting this path right up Summerfield Road, right next to the road, it's twice as dangerous as bicyclists riding in the road. All right. Once again, the second bullet says a multi-use pathway can be a safer type of facility for novice. Okay, so they recommend it for novice and child cyclists, if properly located and designed. At the bottom, and I'll tell you, this is the only picture in this whole document, and it shows a car pulling out of the driveway with a bicyclist behind it. Two-way multi-use pathways located adjacent to a roadway may result in bicycle motor vehicle conflicts at driveways. All right, next page. Principal planning concerns for multi-use pathways. An alignment with the fewest intersections with roadways should be chosen. This is not that. Multi-use pathways need continuity to other facilities. A multi-use pathway should not just end, leaving motorcyclists stranded with no nearby bikeway connection. That's what it currently does in Greensboro. It just ends. Skip a dot or read it if you want, but I'm going to next one. Multi-use pathways located adjacent to a highway may result in bicycle motor vehicle conflicts at driveways and with turning traffic at intersections with roadways. I know I already read that, but obviously it's important if they put it in their document again for the third time. Next paragraph. I'm going to start halfway down. When a multi-use pathway must be located parallel to a highway due to a lack of alternative location, a minimum separation of 1.5 meters or 5 feet should be provided between the roadway and multi-use pathway. They're saying between the curb and the greenway, the multi-use pathway, there needs to be at least 5 feet of separation. We're putting no separation. We're putting it right up along the road. It does say if 1.5 meters of separation cannot be obtained due to its limited right-of-way, a suitable positive barrier, that's our curb and gutter,
Can I stop you for 1 second?
between the roadway and multi-use pathway should be provided. So we're not doing their first choice of what they recommend, but we're doing what's acceptable.
I was just going to ask the gentleman, who's here from the NCDOT? Would you mind come up here to set, just so we can ask you questions a little easier? Would you be okay with that? Sure. That way. What's that?
Okay, you got NPO too?
MPO, is MPO Germany?
You want to come up?
Paul, Ginger, you guys go ahead.
No. Sure.
What's that?
I can move on.
Do you have a question at this point?
No, I just wanted to.
All right. So that's it for this document. This is all about safety, how they're supposed to be designed. We are not following this, except for the very last thing of the curb and gutter. We're putting it right next to a road. We're putting it with, what is it, 30 houses along Summerfield Road that they're gonna pass. Let me tell you that number. It's in the agreement in our agenda. Where is that? The chart, right here. Right-of-way negotiations. So they're gonna have to negotiate with 30 people. So the AOI Greenway, where kids are going to be walking and biking, is going to cross 30 driveways. Nowhere else in the Greenway does that happen.
I don't think that's true. It's not.
Well, that's what the estimate from the, okay, well, that's what the estimate is, and that's, doesn't really help.
So, Mr. Lambert, do you agree with the estimate that was given to us?
What estimate?
That's right.
That we're supposed to approve tonight.
No, I mean, he just, John, I mean, on driveways or the dollar figure? What estimate are you?
It's based on the number of driveways.
What's Jonathan's question?
You said that there were about 30 houses.
Right here, 30. The
Where-
right-of-way acquisition. The original number was 24, now they bumped it up to 30.
Yeah, there's a right of way. You want to show that to him so you see it?
Is this a supplemental?
No, this is what we're voting on. This is the contract from Kim's. So this is where we're going from.
We didn't have it, so.
Well, it's in the
Perfect.
packet, but yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so 30 driveways that the kids are gonna cross over.
But that's,
They are driveways, they're houses and they're businesses. If you wanna say they're not, actually the number would go up because several places, like the fire department, have 3 driveways.
When you go north of Summerfield Road here, it's, then, there's no driveways north of Summerfield Road.
I'm talking about the whole distance of Summerfield Road where the greenway would be.
But it doesn't follow the entire length of Summerfield.
It stops at the school. The part that we're talking about is that estimate, that number. The number of,
The 30 is properties, it's not driveways.
okay, and some of them have even 3 driveways in one property. So, okay, that number, we'll say that number could be off, but I'm gonna say it's at least 20. All right, the next thing you're gonna look at is the letter that someone asked about. This is from Mayor Sessoms in September about the meetings. When we were talking about changing the greenway, council, it's going all along people's front yards. And let me give you an example. One of these tables are 6 feet. We're going to take 15 feet of citizens' front yard. So that's 1 table, 2 table, 3 tables. We're going to take this much of their front yard going all the way down Summerfield Road. I realize that's the DOT right-of-way. So is it theirs? No. It's not theirs. It's the DOT right-of-way. This much of it. They mow it, they take care of it. But it is the DOT right-of-way. But what we're talking about is taking 15 feet of their front yard away from them.
It's not theirs.
Okay, it's not theirs, it's the DOT right-of-way. I'm not arguing that, but this is still this much of their front yard. And let me give you an example. Some of those houses are 30 feet from the road, the front door. So let's say that table to this wall is how far to me? Some of them are from the road to their front door, and we're going to take half of that from them. Some of these people moved here in 1989. Please stop talking. Please stop. We are taking it from them. We're turning it into a greenway. We're taking half of their front yard, which is within the DOT right-of-way, I'll give you that, and we're taking half of it. All right, let's look at this letter from Mayor Sessoms. This is to surrounding areas. Now let's say that in the beginning, someone that lived there looked at this map, and they see, or this map, or the other map. How many times has it changed? And they looked at one of those maps, and they saw, oh, my house isn't affected. How would they have known that each time we change this trail, now their house is affected to come to this meeting?
So you're saying, Ms. Robinson, that they haven't been given proper notice?
Yeah, that is correct. But I want to point out,
it's
in
been
this
the
same-
same, it's been the same map since 2017.
Sir, this is when Ms. Robinson handed it to me.
It was only sent to the right side of the road, not the left.
All right, let's look in the middle, the second paragraph in the middle. In addition to its recreational benefits, the corridor will preserve open space, natural features, buffer non-compatible uses and areas, control runoff and flooding, provide protection of water quality, and help preserve natural wildlife habitat. I don't know how going 15 feet in their front yard is going to do those things. Next paper.
Probably reference to the watershed.
No, this is,
Just continue.
it's not.
The first proposal was, right?
The next thing you have is I met with a lot of the homeowners and to ask them, how do you feel about this coming through your front yard? Not a single person who lives there is okay with it. Not one. There's one that's okay with it, but he doesn't live there. It's a business. This is one of them that I met with. They live at the corner where the sidewalk comes out of the tunnel. They're already having problems with trespassers. All it is a little old sidewalk right there. And they emailed the town. They put up trail cams because they're having such a problem with trespassers. And here's a picture of 2 trespassers walking right past the chain. You see that chain and that sign? It says no trespassing. And you see the person walking right past it? So they already have a problem with trespassers.
Question.
Yes.
Any of the people that you were referencing that up Summerfield Road that not in favor of your account?
How would they have known it's on the agenda? Did we tell them? No. I mean, we could invite them. We could have a public meeting to let them know, hey, now it's going in your front yard, but we haven't done that for them.
Well, no one had the information until yesterday morning with this.
They wouldn't have even known to be here for this. All right, I'm gonna go on to the feasibility study. Any questions at this point?
You gentlemen have any comments?
All right, feasibility study and safety. Page 4, if you want to follow along, it's the AOI Greenway. It's a gigantic document. I'm going to read you some for it if you want to verify it after. Page 4 says to minimize road crossings. Summerfield Road would not be minimizing them. Page 4 says we should look at agreements with property owners and acquired easements. Page 33 says to use parcels where landowners are amenable to greenway easements. Page 12 and 14 discusses challenges at Summerfield Road. Maps show areas in orange of weakness. They put strengths and weaknesses on the map, and this Summerfield Road is weaknesses. It's orange.
This is from the feasibility study?
This is from the 2012 feasibility study.
Do you know what page it's on?
Yeah. So which part?
The orange?
The orange is on page 12 and 14. Do one of you guys want my copy to look at? Here, I'll show you. It's a map with dots, and different dots mean different colors. Orange is weakness. That's where we have Summerfield Road. Page 133 says multi-use trail. There's not enough room to have a multi-use trail along this area on Summerfield Road. Ashdow.
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that again.
These are like, there are so many places in here where it says Summerfield Road doesn't fit a 10-foot trail, and I'm just telling you page numbers.
But you're going back to 2012, and I stated last time, the GIS was wrong. The engineering firm figured out, like, wow, that's been wrong for all these years. That's what that was based on. So
I object, this is, I'm sorry, it looked like
You're
you're
not
hers.
Then maybe we need this feasibility study with accurate
The
information.
DOT right of way
That would be
says
that.
it will fit.
Then,
Hang on, sir. So we're hearing that there's a GIS study. Do you have anything from them?
Yeah, Kimley Horn gave that, right, that's a 2012. That's a 2012 document. And
Right.
Kimley Horn back in January came to you guys saying, wow, GIS has been wrong. It fits in the DOT right of way.
Do you have proof that you
Kimley
got?
Horn reported back.
then maybe we need a new feasibility study. This was, it was 2012, and that's what a lot of this stuff is based on.
That's what you're paying an engineering firm for.
Not for a new feasibility study, we're not.
Well,
ASHTO recommended against installing a multi-use path along a roadway and driveway cuts. Discussion from, they had discussions with the community, and people talked about how people move to Summerfield to get away from everything. They want to be left alone. It goes right up next to the school. They talked to the staff at the school. The school thought this presented some pretty big safety concerns. And then Withers and Ravenel gave a final recommendation, and that's that first big map I showed. So I don't think it's fair to the people to put this in 15 feet of their front yard. It's within the DOT right of way, but for some people it's half of their front yard, and not a single person whose yard it's going to go through that lives there wants it, not one. So I would ask you, how would you feel if someone came through and did this to your front yard?
thank you, Joe.
Yep.
So can we just pull up our power lines and you guys just don't get any power?
So if-
I want you guys to get power either.
Mayor says it's police control.
I got-
Yeah, so if anything-
I'm just reading this to make sure we're covering everything we're supposed to be. So, Mr. McKinney, sir, if y'all like to speak to any of this, anything at all you'd like to share with us here from you guys?
The purpose of feasibility studies is to determine the viability of a project. It does not determine the location, it does not determine the type. All that is done through the engineering portion that you're into now. Back when the
2012.
well, even before that, when did I get
2000 or 2007. at least.
Yeah, back then.
Michael Ramsey.
Back then, the thought was, it would be, the talk was about a side path along Summerfield. There was no talk about curb and gutter. If you do a true site path on a rural road, yes, you would be outside of the right of way. But once King Horn determined that curb and gutter could work, then that opened up the rest of Summerfield Road to be treated that way and keep everything within the road right of way. The things that are going outside of the right of way are the temporary easements that are needed for construction. And when the construction's over, those easements go away. But all the people and all those property owners that easements are on are paid well for those easements.
They're not getting paid anything. No one's getting paid.
They're getting paid?
Yeah.
That's not our budget. We have not seen those numbers.
They said absolutely
That
not.
comes out of the municipal agreement. Your municipal agreement has a right-of-way phase in it. Right? Don't get hung up with the word right-of-way too much. That is the process. You've got a PE phase in a project, you've got a right-of-way phase, you have a construction phase. Your right-of-way phase is easements. Because you already got a right-of-way along Summerfield Road. And all you're needing is the temporary construction easements. There are some areas that, like Summerfield owns, that gone away from the road a little bit to make a safer crossing up at the fire station.
You know what, there was a chart that had that. I gave it to you. And it has right-of-way acquisition, and it has a cost. And for all these houses on there, I think it says $41,000. That paper I gave you with the chart?
I can tell you what, you're not gonna buy a lot of right-of-way for $41,000.
I thought it's
No, but if, and my point is, if you divide $41,000 by that many houses, they aren't getting much.
Papers.
I haven't looked at it.
Sir,
in a long
we
time.
had the folder.
It's okay. It's all right. It was like $40,000. So if you want to divide 40,000 by 30 properties and say they each get
Too much?
$1,200 for the purchase of, I don't think they would be willing to give up 15 feet of their front yard for $1,200. But we could go ask them.
I can confirm in a different example that that is exactly what happens when they were redoing the bridge down where I live. They rented an extra portion of the road that was out of their right of way so they could park their vehicles or put materials or whatnot. And I think it was only like $400 or something for 2 months, or there's a term and a price. And then I even had to pay taxes on that $400. That's what made me mad. But that is, and they go back and fix everything, they reseeded and that type of thing. That's their, I concur that is correct.
I think we've spent over $750,000 on this so far. So the ask tonight is that we spend another $150,000 to inquire about going Summerfield Road. I am not opposed to an A&Y completely. I am opposed to it going up Summerfield Road because this is not safe. It does not follow the DOT multi-use pathways, what they recommend. These kids crossing one driveway or business after another is not safe. And I think Summerfield Road is not the way that our greenway should go. I think if we want to consider other ways, that's one thing, but I think Summerfield Road is not safe and it's not fair to the citizens who live there.
Mr. Lambert, what is the reason why you don't prefer the other route?
We can go through the watershed. I mean, it's a mile and a half longer. So it goes from 3.9 miles, from 2.3 miles up to 3.9.
So you don't have a strong feeling that it has to be Summerfield Road? You'd be okay with leaving it the way that it is?
No, he's still going to go
No,
to
it still
Summerfield
it
Road.
includes part of Summerfield Road.
Right.
It
He
still
has
is
no
a-
plan to keep it off Summerfield
Yeah,
Road.
yeah. So just adding the lower portion makes it 100% versus it shortens it a mile and a half. So it takes the budget down considerably.
And I know it takes out at least one of the 30-foot front yards that Ms. Roberts has been talking about.
Have you inquired with any of the citizens there, talked to them?
We don't do that. It's not, that's not our rule.
Okay.
Yep.
So you would say that would be his role?
There's a paid engineering firm, so the way the process.
No, I mean to represent the citizens that live there. Whose role do you think that would be?
Role. They're invited to come participate in the process. So they either come speak up as grown adults.
Absolutely not.
Anyway, So they're invited to come participate in the process, just like the committee does.
They haven't been told that this is gonna go through their front yard.
No, in October, it was a listening only meeting, they have not been informed.
They don't allow it comment?
This meeting tonight, you knew 2 weeks ago. Anybody who lives there wouldn't have known until yesterday morning.
Ms. Perry?
I've got 3 questions, what been said so far is, has the right-of-way changed since 1960? And also, when they put those letters out, I do want council to know, they were only sent to the people that it affected. They didn't send them all down Summerfield Road. It
So that's what I'm saying, the new part of it,
only
those people have no idea that it's gonna go through their front
Right,
yard. They have not
and the
been
third
told.
question I had was just something just said, it was the right of way, it was that, and, oh, what about the water runoff? The rainwater runoff, where's that going from the curb and gutter?
Downhill.
Down on there?
It's a flat land.
Oh, where? Down I'm asking, is there not going to be basins put in?
We know what you mean.
Hold on a
I know.
Okay,
Well,
thank
that's
you.
really,
That's
these
actually,
people don't
there was a
know
fair
what I'm
question there, I would
talking
like to hear
about.
the answer to
So,
it.
I want to straighten that
There was a
out.
fair question about the notice. She said that it was sent out, and that's what we're trying to figure out. I just don't want to, these are folks who live there, they seem to be vehemently against it. I want to just understand the notice, that's important to me, the notice. So apparently, Ms. Perryman said that a notice was sent out that notified only the affected citizens at the time of that map. Has all citizens with this new map been notified that we might start looking, before we spend a bunch of money? I'd almost like to hear from these folks if they don't want it. And it sounds like they don't.
Historically, they have not been informed.
Just done.
Really?
Okay, thank you. Sir?
Thank you. You'll have an email from my wife and I in your inbox. We moved here because the greenway was gonna go behind our house. So the lady up there was 100% wrong, not everyone. We moved here in January for that reason. Number two, I really, the question is, I've ridden hundreds of greenways across this country, literally, and many of us here have. She's using the A and Y only as information that is crossing 30 properties. I've ridden, as well as all of us, greenways all across this country, and they all cross driveways and properties. All of them do. Rail trails, the same way. They're in front of people's houses, behind people's houses. To just use this one greenway to shoot it down is wrong. You gotta look at all of the greenways throughout the East Coast, or just the state of North Carolina, to get the real facts, and not just listen to somebody that just is against it 100%.
I think you're
I'm not
taking care of
just
our
against it, as I said.
Hey,
Thank you, Janelle. I'm taking care of our citizens.
I love the greenways, I've trained for 4 marathons on the greenway, and I use it all the time. I'm saying, I am not against the greenway extension, but I think Summerfield Road is the wrong plan for our town. I don't think it's safe. And it doesn't go through your front yard, so when I said every person that lives on where the property is going through their yard is against it, I was correct. It's not gonna go through your yard.
you gentlemen have anything else to share?
I have
I
a
think
question.
Mr. Vaney has a question.
Okay, so, Mr. Lambert, we did get the breakdown of that $500,000, and this is a question that I've asked everybody, and you two are here, so I'm hoping that you can answer it. It's broken down where there's portions of paving, I'm just gonna give you chunks. Engineering, it's got New South Associates and some engineering, and it flips back and forth, and there's Blackham Engineering, and then Kimley Foreign and Associates. So, I know that the 80-20, what I remember from last council is you had to wait till 2024 before to spend the majority or start spending money so that we get reimbursed. So my question is there any portion of this that we would get, no. When does the 80-20
The money is for when you go start buying your easements. That's right away. That's when money starts. And that's when the clock starts too. Once you get that first authorization, you have 5 years to complete the project.
And we have not gotten to that point, right?
You have not gotten authorization.
And can the DOT do that in 5 years?
Well, this is a locally administered project, meaning that the municipality or a private engineer hired by the municipality is responsible for the developing, the acquisition of the right-of-way, and the letting and administration of the contract. So we will assist along the way. The role of the department in a project like this is to provide oversight. When the Fed, and as you saw on that sheet, one thing that I want to correct, the 80-20 sheet, it says NCDOT and local match. It's actually federal funds and local match. It's not actually NCDOT state dollars. But with the FHWA, Federal Highway Administration's delegation and oversight assignment of the department, we have to ensure that the project is developed up to our standards and that it is administered, right-of-way acquisition, all of it in the same manner that we would do if it was a DOT project. And that is all integral to the municipality getting their reimbursement back. So our role with that is, like I said, to provide oversight, assistance when needed, and things of that nature. So regarding some of the, and Craig is absolutely right, this particular agreement did not have PE work or preliminary engineering as a reimbursable phase when it was created. It has right-of-way, utilities, and construction as reimbursable phases. And there are certain things that have to be done prior to the authorization of those funds. You guys have an environmental document, and the next step, if you guys pursued it, is to develop right-of-way plans. And right-of-way plans are typically about 75% complete. They've got all the hydraulics and the utilities on there predominantly, along with the construction, so we can identify what those impacts are, what you guys will need to construct this project. And that's what you have to have prior to going to the property owners if additional right-of-way is needed. But any of these phases have to be, the funds have to be authorized before you guys start participating in that phase for it to be an eligible phase. But like you said, and just a little bit of context from my experience, and I've only been working in this position about 2 years, but when the Greenway kind of took that off-road portion, they were encountering some right-of-way difficulties and some property owners that they reached out to, I guess, during the public comment phase, and they did not seem willing to want to relinquish right-of-way at any cost. I don't know if those opinions and attitudes have changed, but that is what drove the path over to Summerfield Road. And part of it is driven by the connection to the tunnel as well. But these federal funds, these were allocated through the state transportation prioritization. So these are funds, 4.0, it's P 4.0, yeah, 4.0, we're currently in 7.0, but these were allocated in prioritization 4.0. These funds are kind of for this specific project. If the town elects to do away with this project, these are not federal funds that can be used for anything else. What they do is they go back in the general pot, and they get reallocated. It might go to somewhere in the western part of the state, it might go to somewhere in the, it really kind of just depends. So before you guys decide to eliminate the project completely, I would just kind of make sure you really don't want to do it, because if you do ever decide or elect to do this project again, you've got to go back through this process, and it's a very timely process. We do a prioritization about every 2 years, ideally, but we have to do one every 4 years by federal law. But you're going to be competing against all these other projects, and a lot of the other NPOs are a lot more savvy to acquiring these and submitting projects to make them score well. So if you do away with this project completely, just bear in mind that you might not get the opportunity to get these funds back to do that. So just kind of wanted to, and I had a lot of thoughts kind of in there, but.
Remember I had these two things
Yeah.
backwards on the sheet. So I'll pause it. So then I wrote what he said in shorter, less
Is this
sentences.
from you?
Yes, and he's going to tell you what I had backwards on there.
So essentially where you're at is in the June 1st, July, which is the additional phase. So far, the one portion, and what they were trying to do is, Kinley Horn, when they were acquired, they were just trying to keep the project going. When they realized about the right-of-way acquisition difficulties, they were pursuing breaking it down into an A and a B phase, so that way they could kind of start with an area and not just stall the whole project by that. But they would be in the additional design phase. They're getting close to the right-of-way phase for the right-of-way completion percentage on that one, but they're not there yet. But the bottom two kind of need to be swapped: the right-of-way acquisition, utility relocations, and the construction easements, that would go before the construction phase. Construction phase is the
Split
last.
those two,
Yeah.
okay.
Aside from that, I don't know that I have anything else to add per se, but if you have any questions from a department standpoint, please let me know.
I have one more question. Is, because, Ms. Robinson